Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is Wayne Kimball and David PACT. We're coming to you this evening, and we will be discussing VA compensation and VA home loans. David, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Dwayne. Thank you so much. Excited to be here and just lay some knowledge down for our fellow veterans and military spouses. Kind of demystify some of the information that's out there and empower them to be able to make decisions on their own.
Yeah, we did this last month, and I was teasing about when I first went live. I had like 8 people, and I knew 5 people, and we had like 140, 150 people in last time. But definitely a lot of good information. I know you said a lot of people were responding, and so we decided, hey, let's do it again. Let's keep doing it and give everyone some information. So now we got the introductions out the way. I'm Dwayne Kimball. Dave PACT is my counterpart here this evening. He is like the walking VA home loan dictionary, okay? Infinity times infinity over subject matter expert. He was a subject matter. I think, Dave, you probably a subject matter expert at like 8 years old on this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it for a hot minute. I mean, I kind of got into this I've been in the lending business for 18 years, and about 7 years ago, I really just honed in on the military because I've been in the military in the Guard now for 14 years.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I got a lot of guys coming to me from my unit, other organizations, like, hey, can you educate us on this? And it's different when you're in the service because you understand the lingo. You know what people go through in order to be able, to use their benefits. They're deployed or they have spouses that have questions. So that's why I kind of just honed in because I'm like, I get that life.
It's the same way with the VA compensation when I'm talking to veterans or veterans family members, or if I'm doing a presentation. Right. A lot of veterans just don't understand the basics. So on the scale of 1 to 10, they jump right to 5 and they miss 1 through 4. And now they have a lot of problems. Those problems add to frustration, and they get upset. And, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with the VA home loan because things constantly change. And you got to stay up to date on those things. You got to know someone that knows what they're talking about. So this evening, we're going to get into some VA compensation, VA home loans, and, we're just going to double team everyone on here tonight and just give them some outstanding information. So before we go any further, I put David's contact information in the comment section. I'll be posting some links, like if you're interested in refi or purchasing a home, I'll put a link in there, how to apply. But the first link I put in there, click on this link to schedule a consult with David, the subject matter expert. Okay. So I'll be popping that in there from time to time. And we're going to be taking some questions too. So Dave, I'll go ahead and kick it off. VA compensation. A lot of people, they know what it is, but some don't know what it is. It is a tax-free monetary compensation that you receive as a result, injury or disease incurred or aggravated during active military service. And you know what? That's the first time I ever said that and never messed it up. Okay. I do this presentation and I show that slide all the time. But a lot of people think, I went to the VA hospital, I got diagnosed, and then they go on the VBA side and they get denied and they don't understand why. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. I'll take some questions, but also just being service connected, maybe 10, 20, 30% helps in other areas. And one of those other areas is VA home loans. So Dave, can you talk about the percentage and, and so forth and what they would need?
Yeah. And one thing to add to that too, is that we work with a lot of folks that may have been out of service for a while and they're like, oh, it's been too long. I'm not going to be able to get service connected. And we've pushed people to at least try to get their disability, and then they're blown away when they get 50, 60 or 70, 90%. Because anytime you have a VA service connected disability, you don't have to pay what's called the VA funding fee. So yes, the VA home loan is awesome because you can do 100% financing. You could, and there's no limit technically. So you want to buy a $3 million home with not a penny down and you're qualified, you can do that with the VA home loan. There's no cap. I mean, I think the max we can do is 5 million. I'm not saying you got to buy a $5 million house. I'm just saying like it's out there and it's available to you. And it's a benefit if you have at least a 0% or higher rating. So I've seen it before where people have a 0% service connection. They don't get a monthly stipend, but they're exempt from the VA funding fee, right? So that happens because you can get a 0% service connection, right? As long as you're service connected.
So Dave, if they don't have a service connection, what would that funding fee be?
Oh, that's a good call. The funding fee for the first time using the VA home loan is going to be 2.15%. Now, the good news is that it rolls into the mortgage, so you don't have to pay for that out of pocket on the purchase. But this is where it gets crazy. The second time you use it, it goes from 2.15 to 3.15. So imagine you buying a $500,000 place, the funding fees of over $15,000 that's added on. That adds like an additional, I just did the math, $110 a month on your monthly mortgage payment. Now, flip side, you get a VA disability rating, even if it's just, like I said, 10%, that VA funding fee is exempt, and you're exempt from that for life. So that's a huge benefit for folks to be able to do that. And I think I might have asked you this last time. When a veteran files for their intent to file, when does it actually get registered with the VA that you've officially filed for VA disability? Is there like a case number assignment?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry. I was looking. Somebody was saying something about a time slot here in the comment section. I apologize. Say it again, David.
No. So I was saying is that when you file for your intent to file. Mm-hmm. But when does your actual VA disability get earmarked as far as like getting a case number assigned to you?
Right. So that's called EP. And once you file a claim, they assign an EP. And that EP number is going to depend on if it's a new claim, if you're coming back in and reopen from previously denied claim, or if you're doing a high-level review, formerly known as an appeal.
Okay, perfect. So once that's been assigned, and let's say you buy a house a month later, and it takes another year or two to get your service connection, you're awarded your service connected disability. At that point, you can reach out to the VA and they'll give you a refund of the VA funding fee. That's why it's important when you're going through that process and you're thinking about it, go ahead and file. Like I was talking with someone today. They're like, I want to buy a home. We're closing in like the next 30 days. They already filed their intent to file, but they're like, oh, we haven't officially submitted to the VA for that P number you said. You need to get that at least filed so they can assign it so you can close on a home and then wait for that VA funding fee. And the cool thing is the VA doesn't just reduce your principal balance by what the VA funding fee is. They literally send you a check in the mail for that amount. So if you get charged $15,000 in the VA funding fee, they give you a check for $15,000. And guess what? You could do what you want with that money. I mean, we could split it, hit the casino, whatever. I'm not saying we have to do that.
Okay. So let me understand this. Okay. So the veteran submits an intent to file. And I don't think, and I have to research this, I don't think they assign that EP at the time they do the intent to file.
It would be after.
I think they do it when they submit the actual formal claim.
Correct.
Which could be, okay, all right, yeah. Okay. So what you're saying is once they get that prescribed claim form, they'll go back from that date. So if they, so for instance, if I did it, let's use some dates here. If I submitted my intent to file January 1st of this year, and I turned around and filed a claim June 1st of this year, and I closed on my home on September 1st, and I get a rating decision December 1st for 10%. I had to pay that funding fee. The funding fee was rolled in, and I'm pretty sure it's on the closing disclosure form. Once I get that 0% in December of this year, then whatever that funding fee was, I submit that documentation. They have to refund me that, correct?
That's right. They'll send you a check in the mail, which is awesome. Now, if and I had this question recently as well, is that if you had, let's say, like in your example, you finally filed in June 1st, anything of 23, anything before that, any VA home loans you had before that, you won't get a refund of the VA funding fee for. So just kind of keep
Okay.
that in mind, because people will be like, well, I had multiple VA home loans and I didn't get it. And the way a lender verifies that is by looking at what's called a certificate of eligibility.
Oh, yeah.
And on there, it's going to have that service connection. If you just received your service connection, it might not be updated on the government's home loan site. So keep that in mind. And sometimes you have updates, like you have dependents now, and the VA hasn't updated it. So you're going to have to submit those documents to the lender so they can verify it and upload it to the VA to get that updated.
Okay. So when they send you that check back, do you need to go to the escrow department and say, hey, I need a new escrow analysis? Because if that say 15,000 is rolled into their home loan and now it's taken back out, should they do an escrow adjustment and your monthly mortgage may drop maybe like 10 or 15 bucks or something?
So you can, so that's a good question. So the mortgage it's not going to re-amortize, right?
Okay.
I mean, hold on, let me take a step back because there might be someone being real technical here. The mortgage payment doesn't recast, should I say. So because you put that money down, it doesn't change your payment. The amortization schedule changes, right? So if you had a $300,000 balance and you're getting charged 300, interest on 300,000, if you put 15,000 as a principal reduction, then you're only getting charged interest on 285,000 now. So you're just paying off your mortgage faster. That's all that happens.
Okay.
Now, for some people, they keep the cash if they have really good rates. The only time your mortgage payment technically changes is if you meet the state's requirements for not paying property taxes. Then they'll remove that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take our first question here, Dave. We'll go through.
Awesome.
What we got? Jay Lass, diagnosed with a mild level for sleep apnea for prescribed CPAP. Is this a strong case to file for secondary to my asthma or weak? Have 0% for asthma. Jay Lass, I wouldn't know that because I'm not a medical professional. So I would say maybe research like the Mayo Clinic or some type of medical. There should be some medical literature out there linking the two. I have seen veterans claim that before, and a VA examiner say there is a link, and then I've seen veterans claim it, and some VA examiners that say no. But they're going to have to look at the whole body of evidence that that you submit. All right. So Jeff Ellison, excellent info last month. Excited for tonight's info. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited as well. Because there's a lot of information, Dave. I don't think sometimes people really don't grasp. I mean, just an hour, and I learned so much. I mean, we've talked before, and I'm like, man, I learned some stuff last night. I just learned some stuff tonight, So, hey, you're getting it here from, a couple of people that know what they're talking about as it pertains to VA home loans and VA disability. Dr. Annette Baker, hello, how you doing? I don't want to say that last name. I know I will definitely butcher that and get that wrong. So I'll just say KA, okay? Hi, Dwayne. I like your slogan. Don't get frustrated, get educated. I have a question that I can't type it all here. Maybe I will try. Okay. All right. So, one thing, keep in mind, I like these live streams, but I like being in Zoom a little bit better. So if there's like a question and there's some confusion, opposed to typing it in, but I do understand KA. All right. So some myths. Let's talk about some myths as it pertains to, we'll start with you, David, as it pertains to the VA home loan process. What are a couple of myths out there that, veterans are saying that maybe, that are not true?
Oh, we got like 3 hours or what to talk about this.
I was about to
All
say,
right,
what
so
about
I mean,
two?
I'll break down a couple of like the common ones that we hear. And I was in St. Louis, Missouri yesterday with a vet network, and like people just had good questions, but I'm like, these are the common ones we get. So one of the things is that it's a life benefit. You can use it unlimited amount of times. What happens with the VA home loan is you have the private news network that just keeps passing down stuff, right? Or people learn this is what happened during my time in service, and then they don't realize what changes afterwards, right? So back in the day, they used to have a 10-year limit, and after that, you can use your VA home loan, but there is no time limit. You can use it for the first time when you're 90. You can be 95 and use the VA home loan for the first time. You can use it unlimited times, and you can have multiple VA home loans at the same time. I'm not saying you're going to buy like two primary residents at the same time, but you can buy a property with the VA loan, turn it into an investment property. You don't have to refinance out of it, and then use the VA loan again to purchase another property with no money down. I met someone yesterday, 3 VA home loans with no money down.
Wow.
I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Now it's tough if you're in like $1 million areas because there's some rules behind that. Like that requires a math calculator and all this other stuff that we have to go through. But I'm saying like more affordable housing, right? Like, it's definitely possible to do that with the VA loan, and especially like where you're at up in Tampa, because I look at McDill. We work with a lot of guys up there, and then they'll buy a place, and then all of a sudden they need to deploy or they need to leave and rent their property. So that's a big misconception that you have to stay in your property for a minimum of a year or two. I keep hearing this. That is actually an FHA rule. It's not a VA rule. If you buy a place today, you intend to occupy it within 60 days, but you technically, with a waiver, can go up to a year without moving into a place. That's one. But if your situation changes where you deploy, so you have something happen with relocation, you have to move, then you can rent out the property living in it 2 days. Because the VA doesn't want to hinder veterans from the financial hardship. Like if you bought a place, circumstances have changed. Well, guess what? Charlie Mike. And just, they're going to be okay with that.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and that leads to somebody did ask that question. Let me pull up here. Okay. Once you use your loan, can you use it again or reset your loan?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah, I'll add to that a little bit because veterans that have VA home loans that are intending to sell their property, because not everybody wants to be a landlord. Okay. When you go through the pre-approval process, you can get pre-approved for your full VA entitlement, even though you have a VA home loan right now. What's going to happen is that approval is going to be contingent on you selling your home, and you can sell in the morning and buy in the afternoon. That's typically how it's done. So you don't have to be a statistic and be a homeless veteran for like 3 weeks to wait for your VA benefits to get updated, right? It's just you can sell and buy. So it's definitely you can do that.
Okay. All right. And I think, one main myth about VA compensation, a lot of veterans say, hey, I'm 100% permanent total. They said, if I come back in and apply for something, a VA rater is going to go back and look at everything. I rated for years, adjudicated hundreds of claims. And even in a couple of my videos, I give an example of when I went back and looked at something. Okay. But 99.9% of the time, if you're service connected for PTSD and you come in for tinnitus, I'm not going back and look at that PTSD. Now, I'm not saying other raters may, but you can see my claims file right over my shoulder here. Okay. That's a lot of paperwork. And that is considered a small folder. VA employees on production. So unless it's something that just sticks out, yeah, they'll, more than likely will not, but I think that's a big YouTube myth, and another thing, and people will say, oh, well, you need this. The rater wants to see this, and the rater wants to see that. I've had my YouTube channel, I think 4.5 years now. And I still haven't heard anybody tell me what I wanted to see when I rated. You know, so to say what a rater wants to see is different than saying, hey, this is what a rater needs to see per 38 CFR M21 manual reference or something like that. So I think those are some big myths, and people, they'll go down to a local. I was at an event here in Tampa earlier, and someone's like, yeah, I was down at the American Legion. I was stationed here, and they were talking, and, and they said, I'm like, oh, that just, it's like dying a slow death. They said it's just like sucks all the energy out of you. So let's get back to a couple of questions, Dave. KA, I'm 100% PNT, but it says I have a RFE for TBI as it was combined with depression. Confused how I am 100% PNT, but still have to go through an evaluation in 2025. How do I tackle this to avoid reduction? Good question. A couple of things. Raters do make mistakes. I made them. Okay. So when they granted their PNT, the rater should have went to their code sheet, checked to see if the veteran had a routine future exam. If not, they can remove it. Now, you have to go back through the rating decisions to see if that's the only condition you have that routine future on. Okay. Is the TBI combined with the depression, or did they break it out on the rating code sheet? Okay. So you can, request that they remove the routine future since they granted the PNT Chapter 35 benefits. If not, you go to the exam, make sure you know why you're showing up, what the criteria is, so they don't say you show improvement. Okay. Take one more here, Dave. Dito Girl, Texas. I think she said her and her husband was buying a house in Louisiana last month, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Hey, Dwayne, Dave, they want to reduce me from 50 to 0 for insomnia disorder. I just received a letter for an in-person hearing here in San Antonio, Texas. Okay. Dito Girl, I did a video. It's on my YouTube channel, and it is called RVSR hearing. I used to facilitate those. Okay. When they're doing a proposal to reduce, what that means is, it sounds like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you service connected for insomnia, which falls on the mental body system. You probably went in for an increase, or maybe had a routine future, one of the two. You didn't look at the diagnostic code criteria. And if you went in for an increase, you went in for an increase with that 50% has been in effect less than 5 years, and that exam showed improvement. So you have to show at the RVS hearing and prove that you still warrant a 50%, you still want the 50% criteria, or a 70 or 100%. You got to go to the VA's rating schedule, understand what the criteria is for the 50% and 70%. Okay, what we got here? Divine Order, Shalom, the KMD89 Consulting Group, and chat from Chicago. All right.
Deep dish pizza. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, Southside, 47 King Drive. The Wild Hunnets. Well, do what they say, the Wild Hunnets. Okay. All right. So we're going to keep this thing going. I am putting, if you want to connect with Dave, I'm putting in the comment section how to schedule a call with Dave. Okay. I put that in there about 3 or 4 times already. Also, I put a link in there how to apply if you are ready to move forward. So what are some of the next steps, Dave, that, if someone says, hey, seeing Dave and Dwayne online, and I'm ready to buy a home or ready to refinance, what are the next steps for them?
So the first thing you want to do in the home buying process is to reach out to us so we can take a look at your certificate of eligibility and take a look at the financial picture. The VA loan is really comprised of 2 things, right? Eligibility and qualification. most of the people that are in here are going to be eligible to use the VA home loan, right? They served enough time, they got the correct character of discharge, but then it's the qualification piece, right? Do you meet the credit, income, and collateral standards? And that's something that myself and my team, we're going to review all of that and walk you through those options and give you your left and right limits as far as what's the max purchasing power you have. Are you really are you comfortable with that too, right? Because a lot of people will think like, hey, I want to buy an $800,000 home, but when they see an $8,000 mortgage payment, they're like, wait a second, maybe I don't want to do that, right? So you really have to navigate that piece. Once you do that, we connect you with some real estate professionals that can help you, and they understand the VA home loan process. Because if there's veterans on here now that have tried to buy a place in the last couple of years and they use their VA benefits, it's hard to win contracts because veterans a lot of times get they look down on for using the VA home loan because of misconceptions around that, right? So the pre-approval piece, that is connecting with an agent, and then it's going to be getting out there and looking at properties.
Well, the pre-approval, they need to click that link and
I know.
Talk to you, right?
That's right.
Now you said agent, no, we're saying contact David.
Lender, yeah, because we'll connect you with somebody as well, right? That's what I'm saying. Is like, yeah, we'll be able to connect you guys with a team, because just like in the military, you've been to places where bad team environment, things are not good. Good team environment, things move, and that's what you want, right? Like that's like what we do for the veteran community, is that empowering people, educate, and then like let's execute and be able just to make things happen.
Right. So what is the minimum credit score?
Ideally, you really want to be around a 620 or higher. The VA does allow for lower, but it just gets a little bit more complicated. So if you're at 620 or higher, it's a relatively straightforward process. You need a source of income to be able to pay for the mortgage. Now, if you have let's say you can qualify with VA disability alone, right? So if you have 100% disability rating, 70, 20, 20, you might not be able to buy much. But if you got like 100% rating, that's 4,200 plus we gross that up. That's 5,000 a month that you have. You could definitely buy a place with just that alone. So as long as you have a source of income, or if your spouse is gainfully employed, even if you're not working and you don't have no VA disability or any of that, and your spouse can hold the mortgage, you can still use your VA home loan. So credit, you need a source of income. It could be Social Security, a full-time job, whatever the case may be. And then it's also going to be assets, and that's dependent because you need to at least be able to pay for closing costs, right? Unless you can negotiate for the sellers to pay for that, right? So it's income, it's your credit, and it's going to be assets. Those are the key things with qualification.
Now, Dave, some vets, they're 100% permanent total. And like you said, it's around the 4,000 mark a month. And some veterans have Social Security. Can they use their Social Security as income?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can use, yeah. So yeah, that's like considered other types of income, right? They have, you can use Social Security, retirement, disability,
child support,
alimony, child support. You can use all types of income to qualify for the VA home loan.
I was being facetious. You can use child support?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All right.
As long as you've been receiving it for 3 months and it's on time, then yeah, you can use it. And then the child is not within a year of being 18 at the time of closing, because there's the continuous factor.
Right.
You have to just kind of keep that in mind. But yes, you can use that.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to some questions here. Kent went accused, since I'm getting disability for my migraines that occurred at Camp Lejeune. Now that the PACT Act has been established, is there more I should do? That's kind of a hard question. You have to look at, and this is why I say it's a hard question. I don't know your situation. And personally, I don't know your situation. But when you go out and you look at the PACT Act, you look at the new conditions that have been added to the list. If you have a diagnosis, okay, which Camp Lejeune does not fall under the PACT Act. But if you have a diagnosis that's on the list, or the PACT new diagnosis that's been put on the PACT Act list, and you meet the other criteria, you feel you want to file a claim, all means, file a claim. One thing that I tell veterans I recommend veterans do: get educated. go and understand what is the PACT Act, how does it work, and then what evidence do you need, and then you can proceed. Okay. All right. Teddy says, Dwayne, love the book. My claim is in wish me luck. If you don't have the book, this is the new book here. Let me pull back a little bit. Get people. Oh, there we go. Okay. This is the new book, VA Claim Success. It's a bestseller out there on Amazon. If you go to my website, kmd89.com, you can purchase it there, and I'll send you a signed copy. And Teddy, thank you for the support. All right, this is on you, Dave. I'll let you.
Yeah, we answered this one, but yeah, you can get you can qualify with just service-connected disability to buy a property.
Got another one here.
If the VA funding, that's what we talked about. If you filed your VA disability and it gets earmarked, and some people might be joining a little bit late, so I'll kind of recover that. So if you can get a refund of your VA funding fee as long as you've actually filed your VA disability, not your intent to file. You filed for your VA disability, and if you close 10 days afterwards, you're still going to be charged the VA funding fee. But if 8 months from then you get awarded the VA funding fee, then you get a refund. But if you have a current VA home loan, you've had it for 10 years, and you get your VA disability 4 months ago, and you filed 10 months ago, then you don't get that VA funding fee refunded. Now, if you keep trickling down, right, and you keep refiling every year until you get a disability, and you've been fighting it for 10 years, okay, that could happen. I know someone that fought their VA disability for 14 years, and they finally got it.
Okay, good for them. Good for them. I'm going to pull this up. K West says, JJ, okay, let's keep it respectful here now. I got a VA loan before I received my current disability.
Yeah, so that would be the same thing. You won't be able to get the VA funding fee refunded for that.
Right.
But you could still get property tax breaks if you meet the requirement for the state or county or however they have it set up.
All right. G Green, how do I check this funding fee document?
As far as seeing if you're exempt or not, you would have to get your certificate of eligibility, which we can help you out with that. Let me see. I'll drop a link in to get a certificate of eligibility. So if you guys want to schedule an appointment for that, you'll be able to do that. I'll drop it in right now.
And I'm going to go to the next one here. VA rep just came to my home to inspect it. Those are called, what are they called? Field examiners. So
what's that?
It's veterans. Some veterans, they'll have what is called like a fiduciary, or they are incompetent. The VA has deemed them incompetent, and they would have a field examiner to come out and inspect their homes. I'm trying to think. I knew a couple of field examiners, but they were like those individuals. They were always quiet. You really didn't see them because they always worked in the field. You know, they was always going to a vet's home. I would see some of the reports that they filled out and sent back and put in the veterans claim folder. So if we were rating, let's say, PTSD, and that field examiner says, hey, there's nothing wrong with the vet lives alone, drives, goes to appointments, well-groomed, keeps a clean home, yada, 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 then we can remove that incompetency tab. But sometimes I've seen it where they said, hey, the vet is in need of help. I'll contact the VHA. We got veterans in crisis. We got to get treatment, stuff like that. So those field examiners, they go around and they check on these vets. All right, here we go. Can I get a VA loan with my partner? We're not married. Okay.
Get married. No pressure. All right. So that's a good question, because if it's a veteran, obviously it's pretty simple. Veteran and a spouse, you can use both incomes, pretty straightforward. When it comes to a veteran and a non-veteran, unless they're both veterans, but I'll explain both. A veteran and a non-veteran requires a 12.5% down payment for the non-veteran. So you could still use the VA home loan. That's because the VA guarantees 25% of the loan for any lender. That's why they ask that you cover half that guarantee for the non-veteran, 12.5%. If it's a veteran and a veteran that are not married, you split your benefits 50-50. And then you can go in together and buy a property.
Okay. But, Dave, I got a question for some people. Well, everybody that's chimed in tonight. Leave a comment in the comment section if you're ready to purchase a home. If you're actually ready, you're looking to get pre-qualified, or you're looking for a home. Let's just say you're ready to go. Not in the next 30 days, next 60 days. You're ready to go right now, whether it be purchasing a home or refinancing. Let's get some action in the comments and let us know. And I'm still dropping that link. Contact Dave. Okay. All right. Even though it's zero down on a home loan, can the closing costs be rolled into the loan? I think you mentioned that.
Yeah. So closing costs. Yeah, closing costs can't. Yeah, they can't be rolled in, but you can increase the sale price and have the sellers give you that money back. So let's say $100,000 purchase price, you offer $110 and ask for a $10,000 seller credit. That's one way to do it, especially in a competitive market. You have to be careful about that. There's down payment assistance programs that exist, but not all programs qualify for VA home loans. And if you have family that has money, first introduce me to them as well, and then we can figure out what we can buy. But you can also get gift funds, so you can get that as well. So there's a couple ways to be able to do that, but you can't just like straight up buy a place for $100 and then roll in $10,000 in closing costs. I'm not saying that's how much closing costs are, right? It varies based on the property, location, all of that stuff.
All right, cool. K West, didn't realize I could receive my disability until 27 years later. Once I found out I filed and was approved within 4 months. That is quick and awesome. That's quick. A lot of times it takes veterans a few years, just depend on the particular situation. JD Thomas, I have 30% left knee. I'm assuming that's for maybe left knee replacement. 40% right ankle. My right knee has been bothered for since these surgeries. What's the proper terminology to file for the right knee? Awesome question. Right knee pain with reduced range of motion, secondary to my service-connected left knee and right ankle. I overcompensate due to the left knee and the right ankle, and now I have pain and reduced range of motion in the right knee. If you got all that. But
that's a good info.
It will fall on the secondary. It will fall on the secondary. And just keep in mind, the way I stated it is a way that you have to explain that to the examiner, okay? So you have to think about things that you used to could do that you can't do, the limitations. Are you on a cane? Do you wear a brace? Do you wear a knee sleeve? What age do you have, to help you when you get out of bed in the morning? Is it normally painful in the morning? Do you have to stretch it out? Do you have to put ice on the knee? A lot of things like that. So that way the doctor will know, okay, especially with the, if you got a left knee replacement, that changes your gait and you overcompensate and you put more weight on the right knee, and now the right knee is starting to hurt. Okay. There's a question for you, Dave. I'll let you take it.
Thank you, sir. The VA technically doesn't have a minimum credit score, but like I mentioned earlier, lenders are going to have different requirements. They typically want to see a credit score. What I recommend is going out and getting a credit card or two credit cards, at least have some type of credit. And sometimes we'll see veterans that do too good with their credit. They don't use it at all. They're like, hey, I have all these things and I don't use any of it. And after 6 months, once it goes dormant for 6 months, you lose all that credit. So that's why you have to reuse credit once in a while, or just use it to buy groceries and then pay it off every week. That's the way I'd recommend that. And then you can also schedule an appointment and we can go through it.
There you go. So, you mentioned one thing that I did when I wanted to build a house, and I can remember going into the real estate agent's office, and my wife, we were dating at the time, and I was telling them my situation. I was, where we want to look, and they were just kind of rude, So I was like, okay, what I need to do to get my credit score up? And one of the things that I started doing, I had a credit card and I wasn't using it, but I was always using my debit card. So I started using my credit card as my debit card, and just, before the statement date, paying it off, and then I went into the bank one day and the loan manager says, hey, you can get a loan on your own money. And I looked at it and I said, what are you talking about, Willis? Because I told her what, I was reading in a credit repair book like 20 years ago. And they said, you want to get to know your loan officer, especially if you at a smaller bank, right?
Right.
So I go in, I'm talking to her. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, we give like, it's like a 0.1% interest on your own money. And you can take out a certain amount and, we'll spread it out over 10 months or something like that. And so I'm thinking, and I said, well, you all reported, which credit bureau do you report it to? She was like, Experian. Okay. And I did that twice over a 2-year period. So I got the loan. I think it was like $2,000 or something like that. I paid it off in 6 months. Okay. And then I waited another 6-8 months and did it again. And after the first time I did it, and I was using that credit card, when I paid off that loan, the first one, my credit score went up like, I think 28 points. And I kept using the credit card and the second loan, and I'm paying down my current home. And I had a car note. I'm paying that down every month. And after 2 years, my credit score got up to like $830. And I was already like at like 17. I thought that was low. I was like, I was like, man, I felt like that was like a 500 credit score. But that's something that I did to help boost it. And it got up there pretty quick. So when I went to get pre-qualified, I was like, look, I don't want no problems. They were asking me, and it was like, well, how much can you afford? I was like, $830. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, $830, 830. That's my credit score. Why are we talking about, these, in particulars, if you will? I'm like, now let's talk about what here's the income. When you said marked up, what can I afford? So it definitely, that was one of the ways. I mean, it was quick. And especially, I think during that time, one of my student loans came off, and that really, it just, went through the roof after that. So
that's awesome. And that's like also a lesson for a lot of people, is that it takes time. Sometimes it takes time to build credit. And if you have life events, guess what? You can overcome any of those events, because any type of negative things in your credit report fall off after 7 years. Just keep at it and don't let it hold you down.
Right. All right. Angela Hall says, I'm a practicing VSO. For those of you who don't know, Veteran Service Officer. Learning every day. Thank you for your sessions, collaborations, and the book. You've helped me help so many others. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for getting the book. Thank you for the support to the channel. Definitely appreciate it. This one is for you, Dave.
Awesome. If you're married and both of you are vets, does it matter who uses their VA home loan, or is there a stipulation on doubling the amount? Good question. If you don't have an outstanding VA home loan, there's no limit. So there's no doubling up benefits if you're trying to do it together. what makes a difference is if somebody has a service connection or not, right? Do you want to pay the VA funding fee or you don't want to pay the VA funding fee? Are you trying to use this as an investment vehicle, right? Because let's say you have two veterans. Let's say my spouse is also a veteran and I'm a veteran. Since you can have multiple VA home loans, I might buy a place for 200,000 and then I might buy another place for 500,000 and use just my benefits, and then use my spouse's for the next one because we want to buy like a $700,000 property. So it depends on what your goals are, and that's going to dictate how we're going to structure the loan and who's going to be first on the application or not. So that'd be something that'd be really easy to, like, a lot of times it's like a one sentence question. It's best to just schedule a call with us and then we can actually go through it together.
Cool.
Because then I'll know the full situation.
Right. And, you know, I'm gonna pose a question. I'm gonna throw something out there, Dave. How many people would like for us to do a session like this on Zoom, where we are live? Let us know in the comment section. Okay. Dave and I, we've already picked out. It took us I think we went back and forth like 2 weeks to get like 4 dates or something. Get them locked in. Because we both, Dave connected with me on LinkedIn. He was like, hey, I got to get some really good information on VA home loans. Let's see what you're doing in VA compensation. Let's get together and let's really do a powerful, something powerful for the veterans. And this is definitely powerful. I was on live, I think last week, and I was just talking about VA compensation. Now, you got somebody talking about VA compensation, VA home loans, and I'm pretty sure every time we come on, the last 2 times we've been on, people said they've learned something. So let us know if you all would like for us to do something like this, maybe like a lunch and learn or something, a Zoom, 12 to 1, make it an hour. Just definitely let us know. All right. This is another one for you, Dave.
So the original VA approval letter for the home
loan stand. I'm trying to go back. I just saw that and see if they asked the previous question, but I'm not seeing it. No, I'm not seeing it. If you could elaborate a little bit on that question, so we can definitely get you an answer. Okay. Man, Dave, you're on fire tonight. All these questions for you, which is good because I'm sitting there, I'm learning too.
Together we shall build. So can I buy a second home with the VA home loan? You can't buy a second home you can't, like, you have a primary residence, a second home, and an investment property, right? Primary residence, you intend to occupy it for 6 months, 1 day. A second home, you occupy for the 5 months, 29 days out of the year, and then you don't occupy it outside of that. An investment property, straight up, I'm never going to live in the property. And by the way, a second home, it's not like you have to be there for 5 months, 29 days. It's just designed to go there when you want. It's like a leisure home. Okay.
Would it be considered like a vacation? I'm sorry, Dave. Could that be considered like a vacation home?
It is, but the way you qualify for it is different. Okay. So in the I could spend hours just like on this one subject. So that's the challenge, because it's so integrated of like what you have to know to make that decision. Because a second home, technically, you have to qualify for the whole payment. An investment property, you qualify with rental income. So you qualify for more with investment property, but the terms are worse, like higher interest rates, fees, and stuff like that. With the VA loan, it's designed to be your primary residence. So you can't buy a second home with it, but you can use the VA loan again and keep your current property, depending on how much entitlement you have to use for the VA home loan, which is actually going to lead us into the next question for that. So hopefully that answers that question. It's going to be circumstantial. Can't use it for a second home. Has to be a primary residence. There's no time limit on how long you have to live in that property, as long as it makes sense, right? If you live in, let's say, Tampa, and you're trying to buy, another property that's 4 hours away, but you're trying to buy as a primary residence, that might not work if your job doesn't allow you to remote work, right? All those things are going to be circumstantial.
Okay. Let me go back up to this question here. Here we go. Yep, this is for you, Dave.
Oh yeah. Talk about the basic entitlement a veteran has for $36,000. I wish we had a certificate of eligibility to show you guys. But if you've seen your certificate of eligibility, it's going to basically outline the top left your name. In the right hand section, it's going to tell you if you're exempt from the VA funding fee or not. Underneath that, it's going to tell you, it's going to tell you if you have any outstanding VA home loans. If you don't have any outstanding VA home loans, underneath that, it's going to say this veteran's basic entitlement is $36,000. And people will call me and say, David, what can I buy with $36,000? That's what am I going to do with that? So to make things really simple, you have two tiers of benefits. The $36,000 is from the original VA home loan. Remember earlier I mentioned the VA guarantees 25% of any mortgage. Okay. When the loan was first created, they capped it at $144,000. This is in 1944. Houses were like $3,000, $4,000. So when they set it at $144,000, that was a lot of money. $36,000 is 25% of that. Okay. Since then, Congress passed the legislation to say, oh, we'll go up to the Fannie Mae single family loan limit. So that now today is like $726,000. And then in 2019, they passed another bill that says if veterans don't have an outstanding VA home loan, there's no limit. They want to buy a $5 million place, they can do that. In fact, you can buy multi-unit properties, especially if you're in Chicago. You can buy a 4-unit building, have the tenants pay for your mortgage, and you live in one of the units mortgage free. We do that all the time in Chicago. It's pretty awesome. So that 30,
I wouldn't do that. Not living in Chicago.
Oh well, that's a whole different podcast we have to talk about. But so that 36,000 is your first tier of benefits. So if you says 36,000, there is no limit on what you can buy. Now, if you go to foreclosure on a property that's under 144,000, then you lock out that 36,000, but you still have more money left over.
Oh, can somebody repeat what Dave just said? A lot of good information.
That's a challenge. I mean, it's like for both of us, it's like when you know it inside out, even sometimes simple questions could be like, well, I need to know more in order to dive in, because I don't want to say, oh, this is how it works. And then someone's going to be like, well, they said this. And it was like, well, no, it's kind of circumstantial based on your situation. Again, that's why it's just easier to schedule a call with us. We're easy to work with, and we walk you through things. That's the key.
Yeah. It's like the VA claims process. I get this all the time. Dwayne, give me a call back. I got a quick question for you. It's nothing quick about this process. Trust me. When I first started my business, people say, let me just ask you a quick question. And we were on the phone for an hour and a half. Okay. Because same thing like Dave said, well, wait a minute. Well, in this scenario, well, how did you do it over here? Well, I'm thinking 38 CFRs, M21 manual references, and trying to apply that with to the information that I'm being given. And then sometimes come to find out, like the 30-minute conversation we just had, throw it out the window because you didn't tell me that you previously applied for this. And so it's total different scenario,
I know.
Annette Baker, how you doing, Annette? The VA loan. Oh, this is for you, Dave. Go ahead.
It said the VA loan can't use both to finance a home. But that refers, I think, back to the prior question. And let me see how you wouldn't use both of your benefits to buy a VA home loan. To buy a property, whoever is first on the mortgage, use their benefits to qualify for the property, but you're not combining benefits to buy a property. It wouldn't make sense in the sense of you're both married. Whoever has entitlement is the one that you would use, and that this might be a good time to schedule a call with us so we can go through that, because I could probably answer that on a phone call in 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'm just going down some comments. So we have a few minutes left. What if you're filing secondary claims to your PTSD? Do they go back and look to your PTSD and maybe decrease it? That's like a 10-minute answer right there. Depending on the scenario, you got to ask it, like I stated earlier, when I read it, if you came in secondary, let's say GERD secondary to PTSD, no, I'm not going to look at it. But another rater may. 99.9% of the time, no. Okay. But let's say, like the gentleman stated earlier, right knee at 30%, right ankle, I think he said, left knee at 30%, right ankle at 40. When that vet comes in for that right knee, by law, that examiner has to look at that other joint because it's a paired, it's not a paired extremity, but it's a paired organ is what they call it, right? Now, as long, if 30%, normally you see it for a knee replacement. So if you still had a knee replacement, if they didn't take the metal out and just put your old bones back in there, then you're good. You're 30%, right? And I've seen vets come in, claim something secondary, and they had to look at the primary condition, in this case, the joint, which they have to do. They had, not only did they get service connected for the secondary condition, but they increased. I'm gonna do a YouTube video on that. If you come in and claim something secondary, can you get increased on the primary? Yes, without claiming it, because on that exam, it showed improvement. In this case, we're talking about the left knee and right knee. But if you're claiming GERD secondary to PTSD, I can tell you 9.99999% out of 10, I'm not going back and look at it unless it's something just jumps out at me. All right, this is you, Dave.
All right, if my credit score is not 620, can I use my wife as a co-signer for VA purchases? So how does that work? So when it comes to the credit score, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, technically there is none, but you really want to be at that 620 or higher. If you're over 500 and you haven't had lates on your credit report in the last 12 months, then you can be a candidate for what's called a manual underwrite. So you'd still be able to use the VA loan, and you can use your wife as a booster for income to qualify for more. So it's definitely possible to do something like that. That's something that's going to be a case-by-case basis. Again, I'd tell you, schedule a call with us. We just need to get the basic information, and we'll be able to walk you through that. Because the challenge with sometimes, and Dwayne, you face this too, is that everyone's situation, no matter how similar it may seem, right? It may seem from the outside, right? It's going to be like from VA disability. Well, what paperwork do you have? How is that actually structured? From the lending side, it's going to be the same thing. How are your finances structured? What can I move here or there to improve it? Are we looking 6+ months out from buying? Well, now we got a different strategy. Let's focus on fixing credit, because then right now, I'll tell everybody, credit is probably your best way to save the most as far as interest rates go right now, right? Because people are still buying left and right. They already hinted, the Fed already hinted that they're going to start easing interest rates next year. You know what's going to happen over the next 3 months? People are going to be like, I'm going to start buying because I can always refinance later. The VA has an awesome refinance product called the Interest Rate Reduction Refinance Loan. You buy a place today, it's 7.5% interest rate. 7 months from now, rates drop to 6%. You don't even need an appraisal. You just need your mortgage statement, mortgage note, homeowner's insurance, copy of your ID, and you need to have a source of income. So even if you have a 10% VA disability, that's all they're going to verify, and you could refinance. It's an awesome product. So it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, schedule a call for sure, and we'll be able to happy to help.
And again, I'm putting the link in the comment section for everyone to schedule that call with David.
I appreciate it.
We'll take a couple more. Tore my Achilles tendon in service, getting 30%. I filed secondary claims for tendonitis. If the tendonitis is in the Achilles, they're not going to separate that out. And plantar fasciitis, they combined the two and gave me 10%. Why not separate? I would have to look at the narrative in the rating decision, and also look at, I would have to see the diagnostic codes that they used, especially for the Achilles. Okay. Because at the beginning of each rating in the rating schedule, at the beginning of each body system, it'll say from this diagnostic code to this diagnostic code, do not combine, or combine and assign the highest of the two. So that's why I would say I would have to see what diagnostic codes that they will use, because I have to go to the rating schedule to see, okay, if they separate it out, would that be considered pyramiding? Okay, so there's more information that I would need, Donald, to answer that question. Okay, so we're right at an hour. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Man, we had so many more questions, David. Man, this is, man, it was going good. But I tried to go down because I did ask a question about the Zoom, and some people, okay, Juan says yes, Zoom. Kevin, that is from The Last Dragon, or you would miss all that heavenly glory. Kevin knows what I'm talking about. He's been following me for a while, so I always tease him about that. Hope all is well, Kevin. Dito Girl said yes, Zoom. Dave, I'm assuming that Dito Girl is going to call you so her and her husband can buy that house in Louisiana. So I'm pretty sure, Dito Girl, you're going to be contacting him tomorrow, right, to schedule that appointment to get that house.
That's awesome.
In Louisiana.
Yeah, and Dwayne, if you want, I can like run through like in like 2 minutes and answer all these additional questions people have
go ahead.
VA loans. So I'm going to fire them off because I don't want to leave you guys hanging on this. Yeah. Yes, the VA loan requires closing costs. You're going to pay for them. Technically, there's no front end back end ratio on VA loans. It's a residual income based unless it's a manual underwrite. At 8%, who wants to borrow money on a home right now? A lot of people. Right now, there's a lot of people that are in bidding wars on purchasing properties. Am I saying it's right for everyone? No, but as soon as interest rates drop, home values are going to go up and you're going to be in a worse position. But you can always refinance if you have a home, then you build equity. Let's see. You need to receive VA disability for 1 day in order to use it for a VA home loan, because someone's asking like how long you have to receive disability for. 1 day, you're good to go. All of that income could be used right away. The only income that can't be used from the VA is your GI benefits for your BAH. You can't use that to qualify for a VA home loan. Oh, they're asking, can you drop my channel in the description? So it's just VA housing education, but I can YouTube. Drop a link on that. I don't think I had that link.
So we're definitely Dave and I will talk later and try to find now if we do it, I think Dave would probably do it like a lunch and learn. You know, we'll definitely put together a Zoom so we can definitely understand, because we had a couple of questions that we didn't understand. So we want to make sure that we understand those. And we're right at the hour. If we didn't get to your question, what I'm going to have my assistant start doing is make sure we got the description down, we're tweaking some things, and we're going to get this, the next one at least scheduled a week out. So, now a gentleman, and I can't remember his handle, but it was something Snow. And he did something really interesting when I was doing, when I do my live Q&As, and he couldn't attend. Soon as that event went live on YouTube, meaning, I posted it, scheduled it, he would put his question, he would ask his question in the comment section. He's like, hey, Dwayne, here's my question. I won't be able to attend tonight. I'll come back and I'll watch the video later. Okay. So I see a lot of people are asking questions that came on late. If we're on Eastern Standard Time. If you're going to come on, we start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not going to come on to 7:30, if you're connected with myself or Dave on YouTube, LinkedIn, we're both on LinkedIn, you'll get notified. As soon as we go live, if you don't even, not able to attend, ask your questions, ask multiple, and we'll get them answered. So that way, when you do go back and watch it, you're at the top of the list. Okay. Because we do this for an hour and we still have some questions. So Dave did an awesome job going through. I wish I could do that for the VA compensation side. I take that back. Somebody asked, can I get my exam from overseas? It sounded like they were still on active duty. You can submit a FOIA request to the VBA and get that. Okay. So yeah, a lot of people are saying, oh, somebody's late for formation.
I drop down and do push-ups.
Yeah. So yes, and people are saying yes. Said right, DK. Okay. All right. So we'll definitely we'll get David and I will get together. We will figure out a date and time. I'm thinking lunch. And a lot of people say I'm working. When I was doing my VA claim, you know what I would do if I had to go see a doctor to get an exam done, a DBQ done? I would ask that doctor, what day of the week and the month is your slow day? And that doctor gave me that date. And I said, okay, what is your last appointment for the date? And he said, okay, the third Thursday of every month or the third Friday of every month, really slow. And our last appointment is at 4:00. So I would get a 4:00 appointment. Well, I didn't get off work till 3:30 and I had a 45-minute commute. So I was in a van pool. I would drive that day. I would take off work because I knew I needed this for my VA claim. I always got there a little bit early. And he's like, good, you came in early. I could spend 45 minutes with you and we can go through this paperwork because my previous appointment canceled. And I was like, man, awesome. So I say that to say this. If we do a lunch and learn, if it's important to you, you can take an hour vacation, have people sit in the car, 45 minutes. Yep, got some good information. And again, you post the questions soon as we go live. And if you get in a little bit late, you could always go back and look at the recording. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up, Dave. I'll let you have the final words. But before you get the final word, Dave, again, thanks for everyone that purchased the book. I definitely appreciate the support. Don't forget to go out and leave an Amazon review so other veterans can see what you thought about the book. Dave, you got the final thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. And thank you to everyone that joined us. I appreciate all the questions. I know there's a lot of questions that are still left. Best thing to do is schedule a call with us and we'll walk you through it. I promise you, it only takes really a couple minutes. And it's easier to have a phone conversation. And we'll break that down. Even if you don't meet the credit requirements at 620, you got something a little bit lower than that, it's okay. Just reach out to us. We'll walk you through it and set you up for success. Thank you for taking time out of your evening. And you guys have an awesome evening and a great weekend.
And be on the lookout for that Zoom. Take care, everyone.
Zoom. All right. Bye, guys.